Sushant from second year, who will be leading this session. This session aims to provide an understanding of how backend logics are written, how we integrate backend to the database, and how pieces of information are displayed on front end. Okay, so Sushant will take off the session from here and start it by briefly introducing how HTTPS works. So Sushant, the lead is yours now.
Okay. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Sushant, you are audible.
Yeah, cool. So I'll just share my screen. Yeah, so my screen is visible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so coming to the most basic protocol that we use for web client and web server communication. So it's called the HTTP. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So this is a protocol that is used for communication between the web server and the web client. And more often than not, and since we're discussing like related to web, so let's assume that the web client will be a browser. Though I mean, it's not necessary that always a HTTP web client is going to be a browser. It could be any device practically, like for API, a server itself, or a web crawler. It could be anything. But for this particular use case, let's consider that a web client is going to be a browser that is making a request to your web server that is running your web application, right? So HTTP is a very simple protocol that is used for setting up a connection between your web server and your web client. So the basics of this happens to be like there are four steps involved in this. So the first is like there's a TCP connection that is set up between the web client and the web server. So a TCP connection, I mean, there are two ways of setting up this sort of a connection. It could either be a TCP connection or a UDP connection, but a TCP connection is more preferred because of its extensibility. And a TCP stands for Transmission Core Protocol. Okay, so the first step is setting up a TCP connection between the web client and the web server. After setting up a TCP connection, that after that only we start the HTTP request and the HTTP response between the client and the server. So now let's say you are typing in a URL, like if let's say you are typing the web club's website, or let's say the NITK website. So what exactly happens is, so when you type nitk.ac.in, right? So there is something called as a domain name system. So basically, domain name system means it maps the IP address in the internet to your particular website. So what happens is, so when you type nitk.ac.in, the DNS server is going to return the IP of your web application. So after that the job is left to your web server. So your web server, so once you do that, right, once you get the IP, so the operating system and the web server is going to set up a TCP connection. And after that, the web server inside your I mean, the web server handling your web application will receive the HTTP request sent by your browser. And after that, the web server that is handling your web application will send a response based on the business logic or the code logic that you have in your web application. It will send a HTTP response to the web browser, and the web browser will render it or do whatever is instructed in the HTTP response accordingly. Okay. So yeah, and now when we're speaking about client and server, right? In between client and server, you can have a lot of intercommunications that's possible. So now let's say you are having a web server, right? So what exactly, as you can see in the diagram, right? So there are a couple of things here, like there's proxy mentioned here. So what exactly is proxy? So proxies are nothing but any add-ons that you have before interacting with your web server. So at times, when you're handling like real large data sets, so real large user base, sorry. So in such cases, what happens is you tend to use load balancers or caching mechanisms, or you have a different gateway setup, to for your business logic as well. So there are multiple things that come in between. So there's also a reverse proxy that you can set up, like Nginx. Nginx happens to be a reverse proxy that you can set up in front of your server. So like these are many things that you can set up before your server, so that the server can handle the request more appropriately. Okay, so like if let's say there's a lot of requests coming to your web server, and let's say you have multiple servers running. So in such a case, what you can do is you can add a load balancer that can be termed as a proxy here, and what it will do is it'll just balance the request for you. Like it'll send a certain number of requests to one server and the remaining to another server. So this is how the thing actually works. Okay. So now how does and what is a HTTP request now? So as I mentioned first, there are four steps. The first one being the TCP connection. The TCP connection is established by the operating system that is handling your web application. So now after that, the browser has sent a HTTP request. So what is a HTTP request is nothing but you mentioned the HTTP verbs. So as you know, I mean, there are four HTTP verbs that we use, and that happens to be get, post, delete or destroy, and patch or put. So these are the different HTTP verbs that can be used to perform CRUD operations. Okay. So now when you're sending a request to your web server, right? So there is a format in which the HTTP will, I mean, the browser will send the HTTP request in. So it will mention the URL that you want to, like let's say as I mentioned, if let's say you're hitting nitk.ac.in as the URL, so this is the URL that you're trying to do, and that's a get request. Basically, you're asking the web server to give the resource for that particular website, right? So you're saying give me this particular resource from this particular website. So when I hit nitk.ac.in, I get the web page rendered on my browser. So basically, this is what is happening here. So in the host, instead of developer.mozilla.org, you would be typing nitk.ac.in, and there are a few headers that are configured from which you get the response. So now the HTTP response that is sent back by your web server. So here there are different types of responses that will be sent back. So in each request also has certain headers allowed, and each response also has a certain number of headers allowed. So you can set different types of headers in your request, and you can set different types of headers in your response. So, and every HTTP response will have a particular status code indicating that this thing has happened on the web server, and this is the response returned by your web server. So the status codes are very, very important, and I will share a link so that you guys understand what exactly is a status code. Like due to shortage of time, I'll not be able to explain the exact use case of status codes, but HTTP status codes are very, very important in a life cycle of request and response. Okay. Yeah. So now when the response is sent back, right? So as you can see here, there are different headers that have been set, like the content type. So in this particular scenario, we're requesting for HTML type of data. Like when you're making a request from browser, right? So you will type nitk.ac.in, right? So basically, this means that you're requesting for a HTML type of data. Basically, a web page that can be rendered on the browser and which you can visually see. So as you can see here, so once the response is sent, right, from nitk.ac.in server, so what happens is here the response has these particular headers and the response itself, like the HTML document. So that particular HTML document will be rendered, and that is what you actually see. So I think that is it for HTTP. So does anybody have any doubts regarding HTTP or HTTPS? Okay, I forgot to mention about HTTPS. HTTPS is nothing but an increased layer of security. Basically, now when let's say here you're sending HTTP request, right, and you're receiving HTTP responses. Here, as you can see, everything is not encrypted. So the difference between HTTP and HTTPS is that HTTPS is secure because it encrypts all the data that is being sent by the server and also the data that is being sent by the browser. So basically, the two-way communication that happens between the client and the server is completely encrypted. So by this way, we're going to be preventing man-in-the-middle attacks. Otherwise, if let's say you're sending data only on HTTP, right? So what happens is, like if let's say you're sending your username and password, etc., without encryption. So what happens is, if let's say I'm able to intercept the request that is being sent by the browser to the web server, to my web server. So in such a case, what will happen is I'll be able to see the username and password that you sent along. So I can easily access that username and password, and I can enter as the other user. Like basically, I'm not the actual user, but I'm just stealing the username and password and trying to log in. So HTTPS is very, very, I mean, it's highly encouraged to be used. And Google Chrome and both, I mean, all the new browsers expect all the websites to start using HTTPS because it's very, very secure and it is to be used that way. Yeah. So, are there any doubts regarding HTTPS? Yeah. If not, I think Aritra can take over from here.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
So guys, this was the basic introduction to what HTTP requests and all are. The I know like it's a bit complicated, but once you start using them in your applications, it'll be easy for you to handle. So we'll be starting with a hands-on session. We will be trying to make a to-do application. A to-do application is basically keep an application that helps you keep a track of all your tasks, which are called to dos here. And you can create, read, update, and delete. That's what CRUD operations are basically. And you can do all those features to them and to any to do, and you can view any to do. So I'll just present my screen, and can just someone let me know when my screen is visible?
Yeah, it's visible
So
now.
yeah, Aditya, your screen is visible.
Okay, so this is a very basic to-do application which is using Node.js and Mongo as the backend framework, basic HTML and normal JavaScript as some as the front end, and yeah, MongoDB as the database. We'll help you set it up right now. It won't take much time. So what this application does is maybe you can go to a new to-do, maybe add some basic to do and some sample description, change, add a date and time so that you know what the deadline is. Once you create that, it will be visible here. You will be able to edit them accordingly. You can add anything to it, and yeah, and if you want you can complete the to do so that the its status will be marked complete. As I told, we'll be using Node.js and MongoDB as the backend framework and the database respectively. So since many of you guys don't have Node.js installed, there's this website called repl.com. So what it does is it will help you create a Node.js website. It's an online compiler. So if you guys want to follow, you can go to this website and create a new Node.js project. It might ask you to log in once. It'll ask you for a name of the application, and yeah, once you add that, it will be created accordingly. So this is the page. I'll be doing the whole thing on my local system because it is more comfortable than using an online compiler. You have more control over things. So uh, let's just move to this is so when you start with it, you might open a terminal. I am having the same in my Visual Studio Code, so I have opened the terminal. So when you start a Node.js project, even in the same thing you have to do in REPL, it's just the running which will make a difference here. So when you start with Node.js, you just start with npm init. It'll ask you some basic information about the application. Already it has given me suggested me a name, which is TuxRide to do. It's fine for me. Give me a version, it's fine. Description, if you want to add, you can. Entry point means the function, the file from which your application will start running. So it's index.js for me. Test command, git repository are a bit which we can see later on. It's not necessary. And once we press enter, yes, so this is a package.json file is created. So a JSON file is basically a JavaScript object where values are stored in form of key value pairs. So the name is the key and its value will be TuxRide to do. So that's how the thing runs. Now, when you create an application, you might have to install many packages. So for now, we have to install a few packages in our system. So to install a package, we write npm install. We would start with Express. So when you use Node.js, Express is a middleware which helps you do a lot of things easily, which you have to otherwise code a lot, for which you have to otherwise code a lot. Express, we use EJS. So EJS is basically a template engine. Basically, like when you create pages, which when you want to create HTML pages where the values might change according to the model, uh, or let's say any kind of data is changed, it will be updated accordingly. We will require Mongoose, which I'm going to talk about when I talk about MongoDB. And yeah, I think this will work as of now. We'll see if we need anything later on. So once we install, we get the all the packages that we have already installed. We get the name of the package under dependencies, the version. It's better not to change anything in the versions in the initial stages. Now what we will do is we'll install another dev dependencies. So when you develop an application, you might require a few things that would help you ease your process of creating an application. So we install nodemon for that. So what happens is when you run an HTTP server, every time if you don't install nodemon, you have to go there and manually restart the whole server. While in nodemon, what happens is when you make any changes to the backend, it will automatically restart the server, and you just have to refresh the page right there. So we are done installing almost all the packages. Now let's start with our program. So we first create an index.js, which we added as an entry point while we were creating npm init. Same thing, I'm for telling you again that we have to follow the same thing even if we do that in REPL. So let's start with const express equal to require express. So when you import any library or any file, you use the require function to call it. So anything if you want to call, it's just require, and inside it, if you want to put the name of the library, you want to put the name of any file that you want to import, it will do the same for everything. Okay, now const app equal to express. So this is what makes a big difference. This is something that will help you later on. Now we have to do a few things here. So when we start a server, it will be like, let's say we add some port number 3000, and once the port gets running, I think you must when Sushant talked about TCP connection, this is which will make the TCP connection go on. So, and we can just print value on the print this on the console just to kind of confirm that the server is running at this port, right? 3000. Okay, so this will do. Now let's just add a few things. So just to check if the server is running, we'll just add a get request, which Sushant talked about, on a blank endpoint, which is localhost 3000, because we are using the port 3000. We are hosting the whole thing locally. So when you create an endpoint, you have to mention at least two of those features, which are request and response, which will basically be a callback function. So it will be having a request and a response as the two parameters. So what we'll do is we'll just right now we'll just send a message that the server is running. Okay, I think this should work. Also, like when you go to package.json, you can add a few scripts so that it will help you run. So let me just add start and say nodemon index.js. So this will help me this will basically add a command for me. So when I write npm start, it will run the server for me. We can do it manually also using any like nodemon index.js. So yeah, just see that the server is running. So we are done with setting up an HTTP this TCP connection. Now if you want to do the same thing on REPL, you just have to go here and you have to just press the run button, and this kind of page will show up for you, and you just have to refresh. So this is a complete application as of now. We aren't at this we haven't reached this stage right now, so it will be basic, like it'll just print what we got right here. Okay, so after this we have to set up a few things. So since we installed EJS, I would just write something like this to set up EJS. What it will do is it will replace anything that will be rendered as EJS. So views will be rendered accordingly. Now I want it to be a bit modular. Like Node.js is a MVC architecture. So MVC is basically model, view, and controller. Model is anything that any information that is stored in the database, maybe its structure, maybe all the data. So it's model for me. So then after that, controller is view is something which is visible to the client, visible to the users, and controller is something that acts as a communicating point between model and view. So we would require 3 folders basically. One is controllers, other one would be models, and the last one would be config. So let's just set up the config as of now. So we want to set up our database here. So what we will do here is, let's just install Mongo, require import Mongoose. Mongoose, okay. So Mongoose is an ORM. Basically, it will help us call functions and create an easier view for us to, help us with many functions and all, which will help us to, communicate with MongoDB in a better way. So for since we don't have MongoDB setup and we don't actually need to do anything like that, we'll just go to MongoDB Atlas page. It's a cloud platform where you get a URI and you can store anything. It will act as basically an online database for you. So you can just sign in using your Google and whatever, or anything. And once you do that, you will be redirected to this page where you have to create a cluster. So you create a free cluster. The other ones are basically for deployed websites which are actually up and running, and we don't require them right now. Choose AWS and your location. You get 512 MB of data free, and since you have many, you can have as many Google accounts as you want. So there's no limit to data that you can use. Okay, so and the name of the cluster is cluster 0. Once you create that, okay, it's getting changed. So till then we'll just come here and do a few things here and there. So what we will do is mongoose.connect. We give the URI here, and after that we have to mention a few things, just like we have done right here. So this is the URI that I had used already. So let me just go there and grab it for now. If it's done. Okay, so till that time, go to database access, add a new database user, because we can't actually use it until we have created a user. It will authenticate you, and then only it will help you create like access that database. So I'll choose password here, and user one, and upload it is my username. So okay, and after that, I have given it access to read and write to any database. So once you do that, it will just I'll just do add user, and yeah, I have added the user. Now let's go back to the clusters. Go to connect. I think it's taking some time, maybe. Cool. Till that time, we'll just complete the code here. So let's just keep it blank as of now for the URI part. Else we have to add a few options. You'd use new URL parser. This is some boilerplate code. Consider this some boilerplate code as of now. Like you have to add this so that the thing works properly. We can go to the details later. I'll just add it false. Okay, and yeah. Now, after it will take some time to connect to the database. So it's kind of a promise that we call in JavaScript. So it will take some time. So we use dot then. So after it is done, it will stop the command execution till here, program execution till here. And once that is done, we'll create. After that, this function will be inside then will be executed. So console.log, we'll just print that database connected. This will do for now, and after that, like if there is some error, we'll just use another function to see if there's some error. So in case there is some error, we'll get to know that there's some error, you need to fix something. Error by connecting DB. Fine. This will do, and after that we'll just we'll name this let connect db. This function will be named connect db so that we can use it in some other. So when you want to, this is a secondary file, right? So we need this function, we might need this function somewhere in some other file. So what we will do is we'll just export this file as a package, like we can use it by importing it as required. So okay, I've exported this function connect db. Now what I'll do is I'll just go here and I'll just call const connect db equal to require. We'll go to config and we'll go to db. So I have imported that file, and after I'm done, I'll just call this function once and hopefully it will be done. Now one thing that we have to do here, since it's giving an error because we haven't actually specified the URI till now. So okay, so it's taking some more time. Okay, let's just do one thing. I'll use the URI that I had provided right here so that it won't take some time. You guys can use that one only. I'll go to db.js and I'll use it right here. Okay. Okay, this error. Okay, there might be some error. Okay, I got it. It should be fixed now. Hopefully. Yeah, so you see the database is connected. When I try to refresh this page, it will be the same thing as of now because we have connected the database basically for now. Okay, now we'll try to design a few model. Model is basically the structure that we want for the basically when we store a thing in the database. Let's say we store a to-do in the database, we want it to be in a specific structure, right? So that when we use it, when we retrieve it, we don't have any kind of confusion. So basically some homogeneity is maintained throughout the database. So we have now what a schema does is, schema is basically a structure in which we are storing the values. So we'll write let to do schema equal to new mongoose dot schema. So this is a function inside mongoose, so it will create a mongoose schema. Now we have to mention all the things that we want, all the properties that we want to be present while we create a to do. So we want title, obviously, and we create a JSON object and give its type as string. Required will kind of make it necessary for it to be present, otherwise the object won't be created. uh, then a basic description. I'll use the same thing right here. And after that, just date, basically a date time object that will keep a track on the deadline of the project. This is required true. After that, status. So the status will basically tell us what is the status of the to do. Is it completed or what? So it's string only, and we add a default value to it as pending, so that whenever we create a to do, it will automatically be pending for us, and later we can see how to change the status. So this is the basic schema. Now we want to create, if you want to create a model, we have to do export it first of all, module.exports, and we can't just directly export the schema. We have to create a model out of it, and this shall be done like this. So mongoose.model will create a schema, and we have to mention which schema are we talking about. So it will be stored as to do's. It will make it plural accordingly in the database, and the to do schema will be used to store it. Yeah, this will do for now. After that, so basically we have set up our model, we have set up our configuration for database. Now let's look into the routes that we are going to use. So let's just add a route first of all. So let's just go to controllers and create a route for this todos.js. So we routes is basically all the endpoints, how we define those endpoints basically. So we'll use express again for this. Express, okay, and after that we'll use router to set up express dot router. So router will handle all the endpoints accordingly as we mention them. So as of now, what all routes do we need when we see them? First of all, we'll require a basic endpoint to view all the routes. I'll just keep it blank for now. Request comma response. Okay. After that, we would require a route to get a form that would help us edit, create a new route. So we'll add this right here, comma response, and yeah, just a sec. Okay. This would do. Same thing we'll do for edit, but in case of edit, we need to specify an ID. ID is something that is stored in MongoDB, and it is kind of unique for each and every JSON object present there. So each and every entry in the database will have a separate ID. It will be, we will be using this to edit a specific to do. After that, router dot what do we do? Okay, post. So post will this is a basically, you know, a get request, get HTTP request. This is an HTTP get request. Similarly, this is a post request that we will create to new, and it will also have a request comma response. And for now, we'll just leave it blank, and we'll fill it later according to our needs. So same thing we'll do for edit also. Yeah, this will do. Also, we can add two more routes. Both of them could be get. We are not using put or post because we would require maybe method override. There's another uh, library which we could use to create get delete or put requests. So we'll just use them as of now. Okay, we'll use this to complete a to do. Okay, these are all the routes. So these are to do specific, and this one, these two are kind of separate among themselves. So this is what now we will just export this router to our index page so that we can use it there. App.use for a blank page, like blank endpoint, there isn't any endpoint. For basic localhost underscore 3000, we are using this, and we'll just export use const to do router equal to require. We'll use the controllers and to do's. Yeah, this will do. Okay, so we'll use this as to do router. Fine. So what we did was we set up all the routes which we were creating in todos.js, and we just imported them and set up that, yeah, okay, localhost 3000 will take us to all those routes directly. Okay. So when you go to localhost 3000, only it will take you to a page which will list out all the to-dos. After that, if you go to /new, it will take you to a form which will through which you can create a new to-do. So that's how the thing works. Okay. So cool, we'll just remove this as of now because we don't need it anymore. Okay, after this, let's just create a few views to so that we get an idea of how this thing works. So we create another file called views. Just keep in mind that the views name should be the same, so that when we use a render function, it won't create an issue. So it's index.ejs instead of HTML. So what I told was HTML and EJS have the same structure. It's just that EJS would help you print variables which are used in the backend, and we can use it right there. Okay, so let's just add a header directly. It's to dos, and we'll just keep it like this for now. Cool. After that, let's just create a few more pages so that we don't have to do new.ejs and edit.ejs. So what they will do is they'll basically help you create the I'll just add those pages to the what do you say route, so that we can just set up a whole structure right there. And new to do. Okay, this will do. Cool. Then we go back to our controllers, and what we'll do is we'll just write res.render. What res.render will do is, like, it will try to find an HTML page, and it will render it on the database, and it will first of all look it in views folder. So since we have created views, we'll just write index.ejs. Yeah, and after that, like, if you want to specifically send some data types to the HTML page, you'll just have to give the name right here inside curly braces as a JSON object, basically. New will take us to new.ejs, and yeah, after that, this will take us to edit.ejs. So these are all the three pages that we would require. Let's just try and see if it works. Yeah, so this is the okay, just a sec. Yeah, this is the page that I had created just now. New would take me to the new page, and edit /1. Just see, like I haven't actually added an ID. It's just basic. I've just added one to see if the page works. So yeah, all the 3 pages work right now. They are connected. And now let's just start with the main thing, like the operations that we are going to perform. So let's first of all get into this is the main part of the application. Like this is whatever we are going to do inside these functions. It will be the main operation that we are going to perform in the model. So we basically, what happens is, through views we try to contact the controller, and controller will, you know, handle whatever we are doing inside the model. So let's just go here and write. Okay, so let's just include the model that we are using. So where const to do equal to require, we'll just require the model, and yeah, model slash to do. Fine. Okay. So here what we do is, like, there are many functions, as I told. If you want to use MongoDB in a terminal, it has a function by itself, but they are quite complicated. Mongoose just makes it easier for us to communicate with the MongoDB database. Also, like, connecting and fetching data from the database might take some time, so we need to stop the execution of the program at a specific line. So for that we use asynchronous function, which will help us do something like that. I'll show you right now. So let's say we this page, the get page, basically the main page, where we want to list out all the to dos, right? So we'll write let to dos equal to await will help us stop the execution of the program until all the data is fetched. So we'll write to do dot find, and we don't provide inside this these braces we can provide a criteria, but since we are kind of printing them, we want to print all the to dos correctly. We are just printing, aren't providing any criteria inside that, and we will just sort it according to date, and we'll give it descending order. So basically the latest the to do which is created, which has the latest date, will be shown first. And yeah, now let's just see if we'll just check if the to dos are fetched or not using we'll just log it in the console. It will be visible right here in the terminal if they are fetched. And as I told, we can send a JSON object from here, so we'll just send a JSON object right here. This will do. Now going to the views page, what we will do is we'll go to index page. This will print all the to dos, right? So I'll just add anchor tag. Basically acts as a hyperlink to, you know, any hyperlink in Node.js. So no, sorry, not Node.js. Any Microsoft Word, you can create a link that would, when you click on that, you will be taken to a specific link. This is something similar to that. Like, this is how they are created. So it will take you to the new to do page, and we'll write new to do. So when we save it, and I'll just refresh it. Okay, here, see, like, it takes you to new to do. Once you click it, it will be taking you to the new to do page. Cool. Now after that, we add a few break statements to kind of separate them. Now this is where the template part starts. So when you write a template in EJS, it starts something like this. You have to write it like this. So basically, if you want to print something, I'll just show you. So inside this, it will be basic JavaScript that you write. So we fetched to do, right, from a list of to dos. We fetched from, while rendering the index page, we added these this to do, right? So what we will do here is we'll write to dos dot for each. So for each is basically a function which will basically iterate through the whole array of to dos, and it will show you whatever things you require. So and every separate line would require you to add this add these kind of braces and a percentage sign to encounter to understand which are all the lines which are JavaScript, so that they can execute themselves accordingly. And what it will do is, now after this, inside this we can print whatever we want for each and every to do. So let's say we have 5 to dos, we are iterating and we'll be just printing all of it. So let's say we'll write h2 and we'll just print the to do dot title. Okay, so it will print the title, and like this we'll just add a few things here and there. We can print the description. After that we can add the status, and yeah, in the end we'll just add the date dot to local. We'll just add it later, like we'll beautify the date accordingly. So what it will do is it will print all the to dos which are present there. Now you might want to add a bit more customization to it. So let's say if the to do is totally empty, list is totally empty, if there are no to dos present, so what we will do is we'll just check first of all that if at least one element is present inside that, we will be printing this. Okay, just a sec, I have to add here. Cool. And yeah, like you have to use, so basically when you want something to be printed on the HTML page, you have to add an equal to sign, otherwise they will be treated as plain JavaScript. So if you want something to be printed, you have to do it this way. Otherwise, like, see, I didn't add any equal to here, this will be a plain JavaScript line, while since I added equal to here, so it will be a value which we want to be printed. So yeah, this is how it will work. Equal to this. Okay, fine. Cool. We'll close this and we'll write else, and yeah, this will be we'll close it right here, and inside this we'll just write h2 no to dos present. Fine. So if there are any to dos present, it will just print it, otherwise it will just show that yeah, there's no to do present. Some error. Okay, so didn't find a closing tag for which one is it talking about? Okay, yeah, I got it. I think yeah, this should work now. Again. Okay, here also. Yeah, so since I had already created an event in the database, it will print something like this. It will print. I had an event already created in the database. So event description, the status, all of this part will be there. Okay. I think this is creating an issue. Cool. Fine. Now after this, We have set up this page already. Now we can go to the new page. So before we start with the new page, it will be a form. So before we start with the new page, we need to add a few things right here. So we have to add app.use express.url encoded extended equal to false. So what it will do is, like, when you create a form, there are many things that you add to it, right? Like all the data, it will automatically, when you send a request, automatically it will parse all of that data into the request body as a JSON file. So now let's just create a form for this. So form action would be /new, method would be post, and yeah, we'll start with the input type equal to text. Name is actually important. Name will be the key value which will be stored. So this is, and we'll add a placeholder which will be shown when we don't actually have anything written on it. Same thing goes for the description. Here also we have to write that, like, the name is actually the most important part in the form, because if you get it wrong, it will be totally wrong. Date, time, local, this would be date, fine, and we didn't need actually a placeholder for this. After this, we'll just create an input type equal to submit. Okay, input type equal to submit, and we'll just add a value submit. Fine. I hope the form gets created once I reload it. Yeah, so the form got created. The name of each and every form is given here. We fill the form, we submit, it will be created. So what it will do is, it will send a post request to /new endpoint, and we have to define that here. So let's just go to this page, and we have already done the same, added the new.js, so we don't need to add anything else right here. We just need to add a few things inside /new. So here, first of all, what we will do is, we'll try to retrieve all of the things that are present in the body of the request. And date. Okay, these are the things that were present in the body, and when we try to print them, console.log body request dot body. Fine, this will print the body for us. Now after this, what we do is, we basically create a new to do inside the database, right? So again, an async function, because we are making a query to the database. After this, we'll write let to do equal to await. Oh, later on we'll do that. Await. Okay, so the title of the to do will be the title that we just fetched here in this line. The description is description again, as we named it, and the date will be date. Yeah, cool. And the status will be updated accordingly, because we have already added the default value, so we don't need to mention that. And after that, await to do dot save. Once we save it, it will be updated in the database, and after that, we'll just res dot redirect back to the home page. Yeah, this will do. Also, like, if you want to add a few exceptions, that if someone hasn't already given a few details, like if someone hasn't already given a title in the form, or maybe a description, because these are the things that I've mentioned are required, right? So we might add an exception for this, and we'll write res dot redirect. We'll redirect him to the new page again, so that he could fill the form, and we'll just return the function right here, so that it doesn't go below this. So yeah, hopefully it will work. Just try and create one. let's just add a date of 20th March 18.5 and submit. Some issue right here. Okay. Title is okay, so we have to do a few things here maybe. Okay, yeah, I have to do it right. Hopefully this will work now. Yeah, see, a to-do has been created as my event and we have all the details present here. So the create operation works right now, and let me just show you how the request body has been passed. So this is the request body, basically this part, the title and all of that, and all of this happens due to this single line, request url encoded wala line. Yeah, so the to do is created and we kind of need the same form for edit also. So we'll just copy it right here and we need to make a few changes, but we'll see into it later. Okay. In the index now, I would like to I'll just remove it as of now. It's not actually required. Cool. Let's remove this also. So inside every to do, what I'll do is I'll just add an anchor tag which will be giving it to edit slash, and again for every to do specifically we have to mention the id. So percentage, yeah, to do dot id. This would be so what this will do is like it will take you to a page which has the which will create set you a form which will which after you after you fill it you will be able to edit the to do. So yeah, let's see if it works. So yeah, like once we click this we'll be taken to the edit page for this, and yeah, let's just go and remove this. After this, yeah, like there is some change that we need to make right here inside the get to do. So cool. Here we'll write let to do. So we are taking the ID in the URL parameter only, right? So it will be await to do dot find to do dot find by ID. Okay, and we just give it request dot. It's in the parameters, so you use request dot parameters dot id to to use anything which has been embedded in the URL, and you can use any of the data inside the form in under request dot body. So once I do that, it'll async right here, and yeah, it'll fetch the to do for me. And what I'll do is I'll just write to do is to do. So yeah. Edit to do, fine. Now we need to make a few changes inside the this page. So what we will do is we'll write value equal to, what we do here is we give them the value of the to do. So to do dot title, so the user actually knows what is the already existing title. Same thing goes for here, description, and we can't actually do that with the date part, so we'll leave it as it is. Refresh, see, like when I edited the my event 2, it will be like this. So we haven't actually created a to do for edit post request basically for that, so we'll do that, and after that we'll try out the this function. So here inside the post request we again write async for our help. After that again we use the same thing like this to fetch all the to-dos, and same thing in the edit to just check if everything is working fine. We add the exception again. This time we'll just take him to slash, so that to the main page. Yeah, and after that, okay, we can go ahead with this. After that, we need to fetch the to do that is there. So let to do equal to await to do dot find by id, as we did for edit get request also, and we'll just mention request dot params dot id. Yeah, this will fetch us the to do. And if to do is undefined, we'll do the same thing as we did right here. Just pick it up and paste it, and yeah, after that we'll write const let. Okay, now we can directly edit the to do, right? Like to do dot title equal to title, whatever it is. Same thing with the description. Okay, fine. Cool. Description would do the same thing right here, and inside the date we'll just check if the user has already provided the date. We'll remove it from here, and if the user has provided some date, then yeah, we'll update. Otherwise we'll leave it as it is, like whatever date it was already. So date equal to date, fine. Yeah, this should do all of it. Chris dot now await to do dot save, to save whatever we have made, the whatever changes we have made, and after that dot redirect to the home page again, so that we get an idea of how things are happening. Cool. Okay, let's just see if it works for now. Okay, since it is done, we'll just submit and see. Cool, let's just see if it has worked. Okay, I'll just try and edit this one, edit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and submit. Let's see if it works. It isn't. Okay, let me just see why it's. Okay, I got it. Fine. I have to change it to edit slash percentage equal to to dot id to make it work. Fine. Hopefully this will work now. Cool. I'll press some error again. Okay, so percentage, fine. This should. And some error. Let's see. We'll restart the server again. Okay, it's working. So yeah, like we'll change a few numbers, and yeah, see, it got updated right here. So we have create function ready, we have view function ready, we have edit function ready with us. Now let's just go ahead with delete and complete, and we'll be done with it. So okay, so only 2 functions left, right? So again we have the id, so we'll use the same thing again, where we just fetch the to do, or let's just do it in a different way. We have a function for that actually. So we can write let to do equal to await to do dot find by id and delete, and we just mentioned request dot params dot id to do it, and it will delete the to do if present. If not, it will just go ahead and yeah, we'll be done with deleting a to do. Last, we'll just connect this also. So again, the same function, let to do equal to await. We'll add async right here. Okay. To do dot find by id and request dot params dot id to do it, and yeah, after that we'll just write to do dot status equal to completed. Okay, this will do. Wait to do dot save to save it. After that we'll just redirect to the main page to view the changes that we have made. Okay, and yeah, like after this we'll just go to index.ajs and add a few more functions for them to delete and to complete. Yeah, we'll just change the name here and here to make it work, and let's see if it goes. So let's say we want to delete this one, my event 2. I'll try deleting. See, it got deleted. If you want to complete this one, let's see. See, it's got completed. Now, if you want to make the date and time look better, to go to the date function and write do local date string to make it look better. I guess this is the function. Yeah, the date got updated. Same thing we do for time. It's to local date time string, and yeah, we got the time also set up. Yeah, this is everything related to the application. I have pushed the changes. I have the same application ready inside my GitHub repository. So just check this one in case you want to need it. And yeah, like this is the whole function. You can create one. You can edit the any specific to do and complete it or delete it. This is a basic to do application using Node.js, and if you want to move ahead with something else and you want to work with something else, you can just go to use something like socket.io and try to create something called a chat application, basically using WebSockets. You can read about it in the documentation and try to figure out things by yourself. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Aritra, for the wonderful session. I hope everyone has got basic information about all CRUD operations. I guess, okay, so now next session is there by Intelligence Suite.
Just on the Aritra, can you do one thing? The thread which was created for slides, just post the GitHub link also there. And Sushant, what all links we have shared here in the meeting chat, just post all those links also there so that the participants can refer to it in the future.
Yeah, cool. I'll do
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You can just add it. And yeah, so everyone, you can see this. I'll just paste that again in the chat. This is the thread. You can go to this link and you'll find all the relevant links which were posted in this chat for future reference as well.
Yeah, hello. The session is actually closed, so you can post it in the chat itself.
Oh, okay. Fine. Then you can take a screenshot of it. I think the chat, and you can maybe take a screenshot, or you can copy paste all these so that you can refer to them in the future. Yep. So that I think that was it, Vivesh. So
Yeah, and that was from development sync. We have another session from 6:30, I guess.
Yeah, guys, we'll be having